Chapter 1067. A few minutes later, the light covering Lu Ming's body turned orange. I'll just pass the test later. With this thought in mind, Lu Ming slowed down. Lu Ming planned to just pass the test. The only way to enter the Sacred Mansion's secret realm was to make a fortune quietly. If he was too eye-catching, he would be targeted by many people. Lu Ming deliberately used his movement skill to avoid many puppets. After more than 10 minutes, the light on Lu Ming's body turned yellow. At this time, he deliberately let a beast claw him. Then a ray of light shone on Lu Ming and he was sent out. When Lu Ming went out, many people looked at him. Because Lu Ming had passed the heavenly market cave, he naturally attracted a lot of attention. However, when they saw the light on Lu Ming's body, it immediately caused an uproar. Oh, it's that kid who passed the heavenly market cave. Why did he only last for a short while? And it's only yellow. I knew it. This guy was just lucky. He probably encountered something easier when he passed the heavenly market cave. Legend has it that in ancient times, someone passed the heavenly market cave without encountering anything. This guy is just lucky. What a piece of trash. That's right. So this guy is trash. I thought he was a rare genius. Bah. All around, pairs of disdainful eyes looked at Lu Ming and mocked him. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He knew very well in his heart. Why should he care about what others thought? Lu Ming walked to the side and closed his eyes to rest. So he's a piece of trash. Sanguinarum sneered. Wu Qingkong's eyes were cold. The screening continued. There were more than 100,000 people participating in the screening. In the end, 20,000 people passed the screening and could enter the Sacred Mansion's secret realm. Junyu, come up. Sanguinarum, come up. Kongling, come up. At this time, the supremes of the major forces in the sky were calling for the geniuses of their forces. Then Junyu, Sanguinarum, Jing Kongling, Wu Qingkong, and the other geniuses flew into the sky. What's going on? Someone was surprised. I know. Legend has it that 30,000 years ago, the experts of the World Academy were able to obtain a rare treasure from the Saint Mansion secret realm, called the Saint Mansion Life Talisman. If you carry a Saint Mansion Life Talisman with you, if you are killed in the Saint Mansion secret realm, the Life Talisman will save your life and allow you to revive outside the Saint Mansion secret realm. What? There's actually such a precious treasure? That's right. But there aren't many life talismans left. The major factions must have spent a lot of money to buy them from the World Academy to protect their strongest geniuses. This is simply cheating. Many people sighed, feeling both envy and helplessness. With such a life talisman, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the Saint Mansion secret realm. He wouldn't have to worry about losing his life. In that case, he would be able to venture into dangerous places without any worries. Lu Ming naturally heard the discussions of the crowd. He could only sigh. It was really good to have a powerful force as a backer. Very soon the various geniuses were assigned. Everyone, let me explain. The Saint Mansion secret realm is divided into 9 regions. That's why there are 9 light pillars. Each light pillar will appear in a different region. Now the 9 major factions will each take 1 light pillar. Those from the other factions will follow the 9 major factions into the secret realm. Let's go now. I'll say it again. Those who didn't pass the screening will be forbidden from entering. Otherwise, you'll be killed without mercy. A white-haired elder from the World Academy announced the rules. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. He was incomparably majestic. Everyone was stunned. This was a supreme. No one dared to go against him. Immediately, everyone flew towards the universal jade annulus. You follow us in. Some of the strong men from the Sky Martial Sword faction waved their hands and pointed at a group of people. Those people were from the smaller factions and had to follow the 9 major factions into the secret realm. This time, there were a total of 8 overlord factions. There was also the Medicine King Valley. Although the Medicine King Valley wasn't an overlord faction, they were on good terms with the major factions. They were very powerful and could be considered a major faction. Coincidentally, they occupied 9 light pillars. Those from the smaller factions that were pointed out by the Sky Martial Sword faction obediently followed the people from the Sky Martial Sword faction into a light pillar. Sure enough, Those below 50 years old could enter without any problem. With a flash of light, the figures disappeared. You follow us. An expert from Demon Mountain pointed at a group of people who entered a light pillar. Each faction pointed at a group of people who entered a light pillar and disappeared. You follow us. A burly man from the Cold Blood Hall waved his hand and pointed at a group of people. Lu Ming was among them. Oh no, we're going to follow the Cold Blood Hall. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Someone whispered. He was very wary of the Cold Blood Hall. The Cold Blood Hall had always been known for their ruthlessness. What? You don't want to follow us? Then don't go in. A bunch of trash. What's the point of going in? The strong man from the Cold Blood Hall shouted coldly. Everyone's faces darkened. Lu Ming smiled faintly and stepped forward. He saw a cold gaze staring at him. It was Sanguinarum. Lu Ming sneered. There were no senior experts in the Saint Mansion secret realm. If these people continued to push their luck, Lu Ming did not mind killing them. In the end, those who were pointed out followed the Cold Blood Hall and entered the light pillar. This was a great opportunity. Who would want to miss it? There was a flash of light. The next moment, Lu Ming discovered that he had appeared on a flat ground. This area was very flat, but there was a huge mountain in the distance. A ray of light was emitted from the top of the mountain, forming a light shield that shrouded a huge territory in light. Lu Ming and the others were now in the light shield. Hey, my genuine vitality is greatly suppressed. It's difficult to fly. Me too. It's the light shield. It has a strong suppressive effect. At this time, voices came from all around. Lu Ming looked around and found many people from the Cold Blood Hall, as well as many who had entered the light pillar with him. Those who entered the light pillar would appear together. Lu Ming tried and found that his genuine vitality was greatly suppressed. Even if he could fly, his speed was extremely slow. There's treasure on the mountain top. Let's go check it out. Many people had their eyes on the mountain and rushed forward. Suddenly, there was a scream in front of them. Light flashed and flames rose into the sky. Someone was burned to ashes in the flames. Formation! There's a big formation here. Someone shouted. Lu Ming also rushed forward and looked carefully. Sure enough, the path leading to the mountain was full of dangerous formations. But this further proved that there was treasure ahead. Otherwise, why would there be so many formations? Look, there's a spiritual herb ahead. Someone whispered. In front of them, there was a small purple tree on a small hill. The tree was crystal clear and seemed to be made of purple jade. It was extraordinary. There's more than one. Someone found another spiritual herb. Chapter 1068. Finally, someone could not help but carefully identify the gaps in the formation and carefully move forward. However, the formation glowed, and several more people were killed in the formation. Everyone was finally scared. Although the spiritual herbs were good, they had to be alive to enjoy them. Otherwise, everything would be for naught. Many people began to retreat. They planned to leave this place and head to other places to seek opportunities. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, a group of people in blood-red robes surrounded them. They were all experts from Cold Blood Hall. What are you doing? Why are you blocking our way? Someone asked. What are we doing? We asked you to come with us, so you have to do something. Otherwise, what's the use of trash like you? Go lead the way. A burly man in his prime said in a cold voice. He was in his 40s, half a generation older than Lu Ming and the others. His chi and blood surged, and his aura was extremely powerful. His cultivation was unfathomable. This time, he was the leader of the Cold Blood Hall. What? You're asking us to pave the way for Cold Blood Hall? No, I'll never agree to that. A man in his prime refused. There were formations ahead. Wasn't it courting death to scout for Cold Blood Hall? You don't agree? Then die. Swish! The burly man from Cold Blood Hall took a step forward and suddenly appeared in front of the man. The man wanted to resist, but he was enveloped by a terrifying force and could not move. Puff! The burly man's hand was like a knife and stabbed into the man's chest. The man let out a shrill scream, and then, under everyone's horrified eyes, the man's body shriveled and turned into a dried corpse. Cold Blood Hall's blood-sucking skill. Someone's voice trembled. and his face was full of fear. Now, are you coming in or not? The burly man looked coldly at the crowd. Everyone's face was pale. I knew it. Following Coldblood Hall here would not end well. I shouldn't have come in. Someone sighed. But at this point, it was useless to say more. The group could only move forward. Brat, hurry up and go. Huang Kuei was also among the Coldblood Hall people, and he stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming glanced at Huang Kuei indifferently, but he didn't make a move. Instead, he walked forward with the others. Sanguinarum stared at Lu Ming and sneered, his eyes cold. Hurry up. If you don't leave, I'll kill you. The burly man shouted coldly. His name was Xue Feng, and he was the top expert of the previous generation in Coldblood Hall. Many people gritted their teeth and stepped forward. Light flickered, and a great formation appeared. In an instant, more than 10 people were killed. Ah, it's too dangerous. Going up like this is simply courting death. I beg you, let me go. Someone trembled in fear and begged for mercy loudly. What's your name? Some people aren't fine. If you shout again, I'll kill you right now. Xue Feng said ferociously. Sure enough, some people were fine. After walking for 100 meters, they did not come across the formation. This region was not completely filled with great formations. There were some gaps left, and one could move through them. However, one needed to have good eyesight, and not everyone could see them. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he continued to move forward for more than 100 meters without any problems. This kid is quite lucky. Sanguinarum stared coldly at Lu Ming. Last time, Lu Ming had refused to give him the opportunity to enter the marrow cleansing pool. So he hated Lu Ming, and had been looking for a chance to kill him. Lu Ming looked around and carefully identified the gaps. With his eyesight, he could naturally see where there were no formations. His figure flashed left and right, and he came to a small hill where a small purple tree grew. It was only 1 meter tall, and looked like a purple jade. It was full of essence, and was very extraordinary. Purple gold tree. Lu Ming recognized the small tree. It was an upper LV8 spiritual herb. If cultivated well, it could even bear purple gold fruit, and evolve into a LV9 spiritual herb. Lu Ming dug out the purple gold tree, and put it away. He would plant it in the mountain river diagram when he had time. Hey kid, what are you doing? Who told you to put away the spiritual herb? Throw it out and give it to us. Huang Kuei had been staring at Lu Ming. When he saw Lu Ming put away the spiritual herb, he immediately shouted, Idiot! Lu Ming glanced at Huang Kuei and said indifferently, Well, what did you say? Kid, you're courting death. You're dead. You know you're dead. Huang Kuei shouted angrily. Xue Feng and the others also looked at Lu Ming. Oh, come and kill me then. Lu Ming curled his lips. Don't come out if you dare. Huang Kuei looked at Lu Ming ferociously. His face was red, but he did not dare to step forward. Coward! Lu Ming pursed his lips. With a flash of his figure, he headed towards another spirit herb. Very soon, Lu Ming also put away the other spirit herb. No, he knows the art of inscription and can see the gaps in the formations. Xue Luozi roared, realizing what was going on. Lu Ming's movements were as smooth as flowing water. He was so fast that it did not seem like he was trying his luck, but he could see the gaps. Ha ha ha, these idiots. On his shoulder, Dandan laughed and his eyes lit up. There were so many spiritual herbs here that he was almost drooling. During this period, Dandan had eaten a lot of spiritual herbs. He felt that he was constantly recovering and remembered many things. When he saw the spiritual herbs, his eyes lit up. Damn it! Sanguinarum, Huang Kuei, Xue Feng, and the others gnashed their teeth. They could not wait to kill Lu Ming. Those who were lucky enough not to be killed by the formation stood still. Anyway, they did not have to be afraid of the Coldblood Hall people in the formation. Lu Ming's body flashed, and at least 7 or 8 spiritual herbs went into Lu Ming's pocket. These good-for-nothings, damn it. Use the inscription crystal. Xue Feng's killing intent flashed, and a white crystal appeared in his hand. Senior brother Xue Feng, are you going to use the inscription crystal now? Sanguinarum and the others were a little distressed. The major forces had spent a lot of money and prepared many secret treasures for their disciples to enter the Saint Mansion's secret realm and obtain opportunities. The inscription crystal was a very rare treasure. Once used, it could freeze the formation and prevent it from exploding. It was most practical for exploring some secret realms. Yes, that mountain is no small matter. There should be some great treasures. Shuefeng clenched his teeth and pinched the inscription crystal. Suddenly, the inscription crystal shattered and turned into a layer of white light, rushing forward. Wherever the white light passed, it seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. All the formations were frozen. It's the inscription crystal. The formation is sealed. Let's go. Whoosh, whoosh. Those who were forced by the Cold Blood Hall people rose into the air and rushed into the depths of the mountain. You're courting death. The Cold Blood Hall people shouted coldly and chased after those from the smaller forces. A terrible battle broke out in this area. Go to hell, boy. Huang Kuei was the first to rush toward Lu Ming. His blood-red claws clawed at Lu Ming. The claws were as sharp as knives and aimed at Lu Ming's heart. He wanted to suck Lu Ming's blood dry. Boom! Chapter 1069. Lu Ming's slap shook the space violently, as if it could suppress the heavens. Before the slap arrived, Huang Kuei felt as if hundreds of mountains were pressing down on him. He could not even breathe. No. At this moment he was flustered, shocked, and scared. Lu Ming's palm was so big that it covered the sky. He wanted to scream, but he could not. Bang! Lu Ming's slap landed on him. Huang Kuei's body exploded into pieces. This time, everyone was shocked. Huang Kuei was the second genius of Cold Blood Hall, but he was killed by Lu Ming with a single slap. Boy, you have some strength. But how dare you kill a genius of Cold Blood Hall? You're courting death. Sanguinarum roared. He stepped on the air and blood rushed to the sky. He grasped the air and a saber appeared, slashing at Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming had killed Huang Kuei with a single slap, Sanguinarum was still confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Huang Kuei was only a perfected spirit embryo, while he was already a spirit god. He could kill Huang Kuei with a snap of his fingers. He did not believe that Lu Ming, who had appeared out of nowhere, could be his match. Boom! Lu Ming struck again with a slap. Boom! Sanguinarum's saber light was shattered by Lu Ming's slap. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed toward Sanguinarum like a stream of light. Roar! 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 During this process, dragon roars were constantly heard from Lu Ming's body. Dragon power burst out one after another. Soon, 5 streams of dragon power burst out. Now Lu Ming's body had reached the perfected 9th grade. Even if he used all his dragon power, there would not be scales on his skin. He could control them all. Lu Ming's strength increased sharply as 5 streams of dragon power burst out. He used the heaven-suppressing hell skill and slashed down. Hiss! The space shattered like a rag in Lu Ming's hand. The terrifying power made Sanguinarum shiver all over. Oh no! Sanguinarum was shocked. Blood vessels appeared on top of his head and turned into a blood-winged bat. With a roar, the space surged toward Lu Ming like a wave. However, Lu Ming's palm slashed across and the sound wave was split into 2. A terrifying force erupted and blasted heavily on the blood-winged bat. With a miserable shriek, the blood-winged bat was sent flying, blood splattering everywhere. Everyone was dumbfounded. It was simply unbelievable. Shueluazi, a second-class prodigy, was sent flying by Lu Ming with one move. His blood splattered across the sky. This was simply unbelievable. Who was this person? He was too terrifying. Previously, when he saw Lu Ming taking part in the screening, he thought that Lu Ming was a weakling. Now, it seemed that Lu Ming had obviously concealed his abilities. His true combat ability was simply terrifying. Kill! Lu Ming stepped in the air and used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. He instantly appeared above the blood-winged bat and stomped his feet. Boom! 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 The terrifying power blasted Sanguinarum's body. He spat out a mouthful of blood before his body collapsed and returned to human form. Bang! Lu Ming stomped heavily on Sanguinarum's nose. Sanguinarum's face caved in and smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. He lay there and spat out blood. Lu Ming's cultivation was at the mid-1st level of the spirit god realm, which was slightly higher than Sanguinarum's. In addition, his 5 intents were almost at the 4th level of the spirit god realm. His power was too strong when he used 5 streams of dragon power. Moreover, Lu Ming's heaven-suppressing hell skill had become even more terrifying after reaching the spirit god realm. He could completely crush Sanguinarum without using his bloodline. Stop. Kid, you're courting death. The people of Cold Blood Hall came to their senses and roared as they charged at Lu Ming. Those who dared to charge at Lu Ming were all in their 40s or 50s. They had cultivated for 10 or 20 years, more than Lu Ming and the others. Their cultivation was very high. In an instant, 5 experts charged at Lu Ming. 3 of them were at the 2nd level of the spirit god realm, and 2 were at the 3rd level of the spirit god realm. Kill! Lu Ming shouted as another 2 streams of dragon power erupted. The 9 dragons' bloodline was at the 7th level of the divine realm. There were a total of 7 streams of dragon power. Lu Ming's power was extremely strong. He struck out with his palm, shaking heaven and earth and shattering the space. Bang! 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 In an instant, Lu Ming struck out 5 palms and clashed with each of the 5 experts. Bang! 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 The 3 strong men at the 2nd level of the spirit god realm screamed as their bodies exploded. They were killed in one move. The 2 experts at the 3rd level of the spirit god realm were also seriously injured. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and retreated rapidly with fear in their eyes. The eyes of the people from the small forces almost popped out of their sockets. They had thought that Lu Ming was a weakling, but now they knew that he was a demon king. However, they were overjoyed. The stronger Lu Ming was, the better it would be for them. Only then would they have a chance to escape from Cold Blood Hall's clutches. Devour! Lu Ming clenched his left hand, and the devouring power erupted. The blood essence of the 3 experts at the 1st level of the spirit god realm were all devoured by Lu Ming. Lu Shaoqing, you're Lu Shaoqing. Sanguinarum, who was still alive, shouted. He had fought with Lu Ming before and recognized the devouring power. What? He's Lu Shaoqing? Those who had heard of Lu Shaoqing were shocked. Kill! Lu Ming stepped into the air and charged at the 2 injured experts at the 3rd level of the spirit god realm. The 2 of them were horrified. They retreated at high speed, but their speed could not be compared to Lu Ming's. Lu Ming's body was like a stream of light, closing in on them at high speed. His palms crushed the void and struck the 2 of them. The 2 tried their best to resist, but it was useless. Their arms exploded and their chests caved in. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and were on the verge of death. Bastard, you're courting death! Shuefeng roared. The other experts also roared and charged at Lu Ming. There were hundreds of people from Cold Blood Hall. Most of them were middle-aged strong men with strong cultivation and amazing battle strength. Shuefeng was the most terrifying. He flashed like a ray of blood light and appeared in front of Lu Ming in an instant. He punched at Lu Ming. Endless blood light flashed and filled the air, pressing down on Lu Ming. This attack was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming's expression changed, and he also punched out. When the 2 fists collided, Lu Ming's body shook violently and was blasted away like a cannonball. He flew back 10,000 meters and smashed a 1st-level spirit god expert. What a strong battle strength! Lu Ming felt his fists go numb, and his qi and blood surge. He was a little shocked. Shuefeng's strength was beyond his imagination. No wonder he was the top genius of Cold Blood Hall. How dare you kill our experts? No one can save you today. Shuefeng's killing intent surged toward Lu Ming. Around him, blood light flashed as other experts charged at Lu Ming. Die, Lu Shaoqing, die! At this moment, Xue Luozi had already struggled to get up. He glared at Lu Ming, his eyes almost spitting fire. He was actually tortured so badly by Lu Ming. His nose bridge had been stepped on by Lu Ming, and it was deeply indented. It was beyond recognition. Chapter 1070. Kill. Shuefeng was still the fastest as he arrived first. His fists were like blood diamonds that flickered with a crystalline luster. With a punch, the space was directly shattered. It was extremely terrifying. 4th-level spirit god. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn. Shuefeng's cultivation should be at the 4th level of the spirit god realm, and he was a very powerful genius with unparalleled combat strength. Lu Ming's body was surrounded by 5 colored wheels, which increased the power of the hell-suppressing heaven skill. He met Xuefeng's fists with fists and punched several times in succession. Boom! Boom! The two fists collided, and the sky shook as if two gods were fighting. Then, Lu Ming was sent flying again and retreated far away. Looks like I have to use my third bloodline. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Xuefeng was too powerful. Even if his talent wasn't as high as Sanguinarum's, it wasn't lower than Huang Kuei's. He should have awakened a 7th-level divine bloodline, and should have been a 3rd-grade genius when he was young. If they were at the same level, Lu Ming could kill such a genius with a flip of his hand. However, Xuefeng's cultivation was too high. He was at the 4th level of the spirit god realm, which was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming. Every level in the spirit god realm was a huge gap that was difficult to make up for, not to mention a gap of 3 levels. Moreover, Xuefeng was a top genius. Kill! Kill! 3 strong men pounced at the same time. Powerful auras filled the air. They were all at the 3rd level of the spirit god realm, and they were a level higher than the previous 2. Bang! 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 Lu Ming punched out, and exchanged 3 blows with the 3 men. The 4 of them retreated at the same time. Xuefeng charged at him from behind. Buzz! At this moment, the mountain in the distance shook and a bright light filled the air, shocking everyone. That's a door! Someone exclaimed. Everyone saw a door of light appear at the top of the mountain. It was sparkling and resplendent, and it emitted a dazzling light. Treasure! It must be a peerless treasure. Charge! Some people from small forces exclaimed, and then charged towards the mountain with blazing light. Don't even think about it. Some people from Cold Blood Hall also charged over. Brat, consider yourself lucky. Xuefeng fiercely glared at Lu Ming, then put down Lu Ming, and rushed towards the mountain peak. Although Xuefeng's battle prowess was strong, Lu Ming's battle prowess had also exceeded his expectations. If he wanted to kill Lu Ming in a few moves, it would be very difficult. If the treasures were taken away by those small forces, then the losses would outweigh the gains, so he quickly rushed over. Charge! The rest of the Cold Blood Hall also rushed over. Sanguinarum glared coldly at Lu Ming before he chased after the Cold Blood Hall members. How can I leave when there are treasures here? Lu Ming smiled and rushed over as well. Although Xuefeng was strong, he still had a trump card he hadn't used yet. If he used it, escaping wouldn't be a problem. Thus Lu Ming didn't fear him at all. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of something tearing through the air could be heard as the group flew forward. After flying for a while, they realized that there was no formation in front of them. That can't be a herb garden, can it? Lu Ming looked back. The territory they had just seen looked like a herb garden, so there was an inscription formation protecting it. As they continued forward, a huge group of palaces appeared in front of them. The group of palaces seemed to cover a large area, but they were very old and full of the aura of time. Many places had collapsed. The mountain was right in the middle of the group of palaces. It looked as if the mountain had fallen from the sky and smashed into the center of the group of palaces, crushing a large area of them. At this time, the light gate on the mountain was even more dazzling. One could vaguely see a jade talisman floating in the light gate. The light gate was a vision formed by the light emitted by the jade talisman. Treasure! It's definitely a treasure! Someone shouted greedily, and rushed toward the group of palaces. Get out of my way, a bunch of ants. You're courting death. Xuefeng roared angrily and continuously punched. The fist radiance broke through the air, and a dozen warriors screamed as they were killed. The others were shocked and kept a distance from Xuefeng. However, there were many people from the other forces, and some of them were experts. After avoiding Xuefeng, they didn't give up, and continued to rush forward. Hundreds of people rushed toward the mountain. Lu Ming followed at a steady pace. The group of palaces was not dangerous, and there were no formations. They flew smoothly and arrived at the mountain. This mountain looked like a tiger lying there. It looked very lifelike, as if it had been carved out of a huge rock. On the top of the mountain, there were strange lines protruding like petrified tree roots. What a strange shape! What a strange mountain! But there was no time to think. Everyone stared at the light gate and the jade talisman. The jade talisman was above the tiger's head. As the crowd flew toward the mountain, a fierce battle broke out. The experts of Cold Blood Hall were extremely domineering. They killed those from the smaller forces. Suddenly, a large number of experts were killed, and the mountain was stained with blood. No one noticed that the blood scattered on the mountain directly seeped into the mountain and disappeared, as if it had been swallowed up. Now's the time. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and turned into a flowing light. In an instant, he surpassed the experts of Cold Blood Hall and rushed toward the light gate. Boy, how dare you come again? You're courting death. Xue Feng roared and threw punches at Lu Ming. Fist radiance blasted toward him. Lu Ming took a few steps and his figure flashed, avoiding the fist gleams. Let's attack together and kill him. Sanguinarum shouted and ordered the crowd to surround and kill Lu Ming. Kill! 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 Some people from Cold Blood Hall rushed toward Lu Ming, while others continued to rush toward the light gate. At this time, dozens of people from the smaller forces had been killed. The rest of them were terrified and did not dare to fight anymore. They desperately retreated. Cold Blood Hall was completely in control of the battle. Xue Feng was the fastest. Seeing that he was about to reach the light gate, his eyes burned with passion. This jade talisman was definitely a precious treasure. Perhaps it was a powerful inheritance. Whoosh! At this moment, a black light shot out from the mountain and swept toward Xue Feng. Xue Feng was shocked. He threw out a series of punches to block the black light. A tree root? No, it's a vine. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He found that it was a vine that attacked Xue Feng. Who dares to stop me? You're courting death. Xue Feng roared and threw out a series of punches. He wanted to crush everything. At this time, Lu Ming had already exchanged more than a dozen blows with the people from Cold Blood Hall. There were more than a dozen people besieging Lu Ming, including several powerful experts. Buzz! Buzz! Blood light filled the air as the Cold Blood Hall experts unleashed their bloodlines. 3 of them had level 5 divine bloodline, and were at LV3 Spirit God realm. They were the strongest and had amazing battle strength. These 3 were the main force against Lu Ming. The rest of them had level 4 and level 3 divine bloodlines. Their cultivation ranged from the 2nd to the 3rd level of the Spirit God realm. They were the elites of the Cold Blood Hall, and had powerful combat strength. However, Lu Ming could handle them easily. The main force was the 3 experts with level 5 divine bloodline. Chapter 1071. I'll send you to hell. Lu Ming went all out. A drop of blood appeared on top of his head. It was the 3rd bloodline. As the 3rd bloodline appeared, a trace of energy poured into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body suddenly exploded with a shocking killing intent. Lu Ming's black hair turned blood red in an instant. His eyes were like blood-red rubies, filled with terrifying murderous intent. Kill! After borrowing a trace of the 3rd bloodline's energy, Lu Ming's strength increased tremendously. He struck out with his palm, and the battle saber in the hands of a level 5 divine bloodline expert, with a 3rd level spirit god shattered. His body exploded after being struck by Lu Ming's palm. Clang! Above his head, the 3rd bloodline twisted and turned into a blood-red battle sword. Lu Ming held it in his hand. His murderous intent grew stronger. The terrifying murderous intent shrouded the dozen or so experts of Cold Blood Hall, making them shudder from head to toe. Swish! With a flash of blood-red light, the blood-red sword cut through the void. Puff! A few domain enlightened spirit god realm experts were slashed into 2 by a single sword strike, and they perished successively. This included an expert at the 3rd level of the domain enlightened spirit god realm, who had awakened a 5th level divine rank bloodline. The rest of them screamed in fear, and frantically retreated to distance themselves from Lu Ming. How could this be? Not far away, Xue Feng, Sanguinarum, and the others' eyes almost popped out when they saw this scene. How could Lu Ming be so terrifying? His combat strength was too shocking. Lu Ming could even kill a level 3 spiritual god expert in seconds. Kill! Lu Ming's eyes were cold, and his killing intent was like a tide. Holding his sword, he charged toward the Cold Blood Hall experts like a killing god. With a swing of his sword, a few more heads flew high into the air. Devour! Then, he clenched his left hand, and the power of devouring erupted. He wanted to devour the blood essence and genuine vitality of the cold blood hall experts. But in the next moment, Lu Ming was surprised, because he found that there was also a powerful force in the mountain that was devouring the blood of the cold blood hall experts. Lu Ming was a step too late. He only managed to devour a small amount. The mountain devoured most of the blood. What happened? Before Lu Ming could react, banging sounds came from the mountain. The protrusions on the mountain that looked like tree roots suddenly moved. The rocks exploded and turned into vines that shot towards Lu Ming and the others. Suddenly, shrill screams were heard. Some of the Cold Blood Hall members could not dodge in time and were pierced by the vines. Their bodies shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye. The vines kept wriggling like straws, absorbing the blood. Vampiric vine. This is the legendary vampiric vine. Some disciples of Cold Blood Hall exclaimed. It's the vampiric vine. Lu Ming was also secretly shocked. As it turned out, the protruding vines on the mountain were actually the vines of the vampiric vine. Due to the passage of time, the vines were covered with a layer of soil, and the soil had turned into rocks. That was why everyone thought that the vines were rocks. Unexpectedly, it was the vampiric vine. The vampiric vine was a terrifying creature. It had appeared in ancient times and was almost extinct in modern times. Every time it appeared, it would cause a catastrophe and a storm of blood. This was because the vampiric vine could continuously devour blood. As long as it did so, its strength would continue to evolve. It was truly terrifying. Many of the disciples of Cold Blood Hall turned pale with fear. Swoosh, swoosh. The vines waved in the air, some of them even thicker than a person. They were incomparably huge and charged towards the crowd. The disciples of Cold Blood Hall were constantly killed, and their blood sucked dry. Among them, Xuefeng suffered the most attacks. Several thick vines besieged Xuefeng because he had the strongest blood qi. Damn it! A blood leopard appeared above Xuefeng's head. There were 7 golden chakras on its body. Xuefeng had the bloodline of a level 7 divine realm. As he transformed into a blood leopard, his battle strength was astonishing. The blood leopard clawed out with its claws, causing several spatial cracks to appear in the air. Several other vampiric vines were also severely injured. Lu Ming was also attacked by 2 vines. With a slash of his blood-red sword light, one of the vines was chopped off. This vampiric vine has just awakened. Its battle strength is not strong. Let's work together and kill it. Xuefeng shouted. Kill. All the experts of Cold Blood Hall, who had awakened their bloodlines, unleashed their bloodlines and attacked the vines together. Boom. Boom. Powerful qi blasted out, causing a series of explosions. The blood-red vines exploded one by one and were broken. Some of the qi blasted onto the mountain, causing rocks to fly everywhere. When the rocks on the mountain exploded, everyone was shocked to find that there were hairs under the rocks. There was flesh and blood underneath. That's a demonic beast. At this moment, everyone understood. This tiger-shaped mountain wasn't actually a mountain. It was clearly a gigantic demonic beast in the shape of a tiger. From the looks of it, the tiger-shaped demonic beast and the vampiric vine had fought a great battle. In the end, both sides suffered great losses. The tiger-shaped demonic beast was killed and smashed into the palaces, while the vampiric vine was severely injured and on the verge of death. After a long time, a layer of rock had covered its body, making it look like a mountain peak. But now, stimulated by fresh blood, the vampiric vine had awakened. Go get the jade talisman and leave this place, Xuefeng shouted. This was a bloodthirsty vine that had lived for who knew how long. After being sealed for so many years, it was still able to awaken. This was too shocking, and it caused the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. Xuefeng had a bad feeling about this. He did not dare to stay any longer. He wanted to get the jade talisman and leave this place as soon as possible. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, an ear-piercing sound rang out. Boom. The mountain shook. At the highest point of the mountain, a huge protrusion shook, causing rocks to explode. That was the main body of the vampiric vine. The vampiric vine was about to fully awaken. What moved just now was only its vines. Just like an octopus, only its tentacles moved. Now the main body was about to awaken. Shuefeng transformed into a blood leopard and pounced, blocking many of the vines. The other Cold Blood Hall disciples rushed toward the jade talisman. Whoosh! Lu Ming chopped down a vine with his sword. He then used the 9 dragons heaven-stomping step and rushed toward the jade talisman. Die! Shuefeng's blood sword slashed across the sky, cutting a dozen Cold Blood Hall experts in half. Bastard, I'll kill you! Shuefeng roared, his eyes red. So many experts had been killed by Lu Ming. He wanted to vomit blood. Unfortunately, he was facing a pile of rot tan alone, and couldn't get away at all. Today, it's your Cold Blood Hall who will die, Lu Ming said coldly. He charged forward, and killed a few more people. Damn you, Lu Shaoqing! In front, Sanguinarum was terrified. He gritted his teeth, and rushed toward the jade talisman. He was only a few dozen meters away from the jade talisman. But at this moment, a few vines rushed out from the ground, and whipped toward him. Damn it! He roared angrily. He was blocked. Bam! Bam! Rocks exploded. More vines appeared around the jade talisman, blocking all the Cold Blood Hall experts. Lu Ming, give me the jade talisman. Dandan transmitted to Lu Ming. Okay. Lu Ming grabbed Dandan and threw it toward the jade talisman. Lu Ming stared at Sanguinarum. Chapter 1072. Damn it! Stop him! Sanguinarum was shocked. He quickly retreated and hid behind the other Cold Blood Hall experts. Lu Ming dashed forward and swept his battle sword. The experts of Cold Blood Hall were killed one by one. Of course, not all of them were in the spiritual embryo realm. Many of them were in the spiritual embryo realm. They could not stop Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming appeared in front of Shueluazi in an instant. No! No! Sanguinarum shouted. He wanted to escape, but Lu Ming's sword cut Sanguinarum in half. Lu Ming frowned. He saw a ball of white light wrapped around Sanguinarum's body and flew into the sky. In the next moment, Sanguinarum's body reformed. He was not dead, but his eyes were full of resentment. Lu Shaoqing, Cold Blood Hall will not let you go. With a loud roar, Shueluazi disappeared in a flash of white light. Life talisman, Lu Ming whispered. He had heard that the strongest geniuses of the various forces had life talismans of the Saint Mansion. Even if they died, they could be resurrected outside. It seemed to be true. Amazing, Lu Ming sighed. The life talisman had merged with the rules of heaven and earth of this secret realm. As long as one wore the life talisman, they could not be killed. Lu Ming felt that it was a pity. However, the others from Cold Blood Hall did not receive such treatment. If they died, they would die for real. Dandan rushed toward the jade talisman. At least a dozen vines whipped at it. Dandan stepped on the void, and an inscription formation appeared. Its body flashed in the air and avoided the vines. It rushed past them and appeared in front of the jade talisman. It grabbed the jade talisman and stuffed it into its mouth. Let's go, we got it! Dandan yelled and ran forward like a madwoman. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this moment, an ear-piercing sound resounded through the air. Rocks and boulders exploded as the main body of the vampiric vine woke up and let out an enraged roar. It was something that looked like a tree bump. It looked like a bunch of tree roots and countless vines extended from it. Countless vines danced and howled. In an instant, dozens of Cold Blood Hall disciples in the spirit embryo realm were killed by the vines, and their blood was devoured. After devouring the blood, the vampiric vine's aura grew even stronger. Let's go, let's go! Shuefeng roared and waved his claws, breaking several vines as he rushed forward. The remaining Cold Blood Hall disciples also fled for their lives. The Dandan was extremely agile. Its inscriptions shone, and the vines could not catch it. Lu Ming stepped into the air and flew towards Dandan. Whoosh! Dandan jumped onto Lu Ming's shoulder and shouted, "Let's go, let's go!" That was because the vampiric vine had locked onto them and was chasing after Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and was astonishingly fast. With a flash of light, he disappeared into the distance. In all directions, the people from the small forces and the remaining Cold Blood Hall experts took the opportunity to flee. After running for tens of thousands of miles, the people of Cold Blood Hall rushed out of the area covered by the light shield. Without the suppression of the light shield, their speed skyrocketed. They turned into streaks of bloody light and disappeared. They only stopped after rushing for tens of thousands of miles. Then they looked at each other. Lu Shaoqing, damn you! Xue Feng almost vomited blood as he roared with red eyes. Tragic, too tragic. Hundreds of people from Cold Blood Hall had entered, but now, there were less than 100 left. At least 200 people had died. Most of them were at the Spirit Embryo Realm, but there were many Domain Enlightened Spirit God Realm experts as well. Most importantly, almost all of the 10 strongest people in the younger generation of Cold Blood Hall were dead. Only 2 of them were left, and Sanguinarum was still alive due to the protection of the life talisman. It was too tragic. The losses were incomparably heavy. Among them, there were more than a dozen spirit god experts killed by Lu Ming. Even the overlords did not have many spirit god experts. More than half of Cold Blood Hall's geniuses from the previous generation were killed by Lu Ming. Lu Shaoqing, if I don't kill you, I swear I'm not human. Xue Feng roared, his voice echoing for hundreds of miles. Lu Ming sprinted madly. Tens of thousands of miles later, he was finally out of the range of the light barrier. His speed had increased tremendously, but behind him, the vampiric vine was still chasing after him. Lu Ming spared no effort and flew for hundreds of thousands of miles before he managed to shake off the vampiric vine. This guy is really difficult to deal with. After finding a secluded place, Lu Ming entered the mountain river diagram. He took a deep breath and began to refine the energy of the blood essence that he had devoured. World Academy, outside the Jade Wall of All. Suddenly, the space trembled and a ray of light flashed. Sanguinarum's body appeared. Instantly, everyone's eyes fell on Sanguinarum. Sanguinarum was dead. Everyone knew that Sanguinarum had died in the battle. He had only survived because of the life charm. He was the first genius who had died in battle with a life charm. Sanguinarum, what happened? Asked an elder from Cold Blood Hall. He was a supreme master from Cold Blood Hall. The others also looked at Sanguinarum curiously. They were curious about what had happened. Sanguinarum had died in battle. Lu Shaoqing, it's Lu Shaoqing. Sanguinarum roared bitterly, and then briefly explained what had happened. What? It's that weakling. After hearing this, everyone was shocked. Many people were dumbfounded. Lu Ming had attracted a lot of attention when he passed the Heavenly Market Cave. However, Lu Ming's results in the later selection were too poor. Many people thought that Lu Ming was just a weakling who had passed the Heavenly Market Cave by luck. However, after hearing Sanguinarum's story, many people were scared. How was he a weakling? He was clearly a killing god and Azura. That guy was just pretending to be weak. That's right. He's too despicable. He must have hidden his strength. I've heard of Lu Shaoqing. He appeared in Pill City before. That time, he defeated Sanguinarum. He's a genius who came out of nowhere. Haha, Cold Blood Hall has suffered a great loss this time. They actually chose a killing god to go in with them. Many people discussed loudly. Some of the overlords were not afraid of Cold Blood Hall at all. They looked at Cold Blood Hall with contempt, such as Sky Eagle Castle and Floating Mountain. Cold Blood Hall's people were so angry that their lungs hurt, and they had the urge to vomit blood. Sanguinarum, in particular, was so angry that his stomach hurt. This was because he was the one who had chosen Lu Ming. Lu Ming had dared to not give up the quota for the marrow cleansing pool to him, and even mocked him. He had planned to make Lu Ming regret in the Saint Mansion secret realm. He never expected that he would bring a killing god with him. If not for Lu Ming, they would not have been so miserable facing the bloodthirsty vines. He had only himself to blame. I hope Xue Feng can kill that bastard. Cold Blood Hall's people secretly gritted their teeth, hoping that Xue Feng could kill Lu Ming. In the Saint Mansion secret realm, Lu Ming was refining the essence blood with all his might. After a few hours, the essence blood's energy was completely refined. Lu Ming's cultivation increased rapidly, reaching the peak of first-level spirit god in one go. However, his bloodline did not improve. Now that both of Lu Ming's bloodlines were at level 7 divine level, it was very difficult to improve them. He needed a huge amount of essence blood. It's a pity that a large part of the blood essence has been devoured by the bloodthirsty vines. Otherwise, with so many experts' energy, it would be enough for me to break through to second-level spirit god. Lu Ming felt that it was a pity. It's still not safe here. The bloodthirsty vines are ancient evil creatures. Once they're born, they'll go berserk and their strength will skyrocket. I'd better stay away from them first. After leaving the mountain river diagram, Lu Ming flew into the distance. Chapter 1073. Lu Ming stopped at this point. He was far enough away that the vampiric vine shouldn't be able to catch up to him. Dandan, what kind of treasure is that jade talisman? Lu Ming asked Dandan curiously. Take a look for yourself. Dandan opened his mouth, and the jade talisman flew out. Lu Ming caught it. Dandan wasn't interested in anything that wasn't related to spiritual herbs. Dandan, your strength has improved a lot recently. Lu Ming said. Dandan was able to snatch the jade talisman from the vampiric vine and escape with ease. Lu Ming was very curious about its strength. Of course. That's why I asked you to give me more spiritual herbs. Also, I swallowed some lightning tribulation when you were transcending your tribulation. That thing is very nourishing and helped me recover a lot. Dandan said proudly. Heavenly tribulation is very nourishing. Lu Ming was speechless. This guy was really mysterious. When the lightning cauldron was transcending its tribulation, this guy swallowed the heavenly tribulation in one gulp. At that time it was still an egg. How is it? Have you been subdued by my godly might? Follow me and serve me well in the future. You'll have a good life ahead of you. Dandan said proudly. It had already started to feel complacent. Go in. Lu Ming grabbed Dandan and stuffed him into the mountain river diagram. Then, he looked at the jade talisman in his hand and scanned it with his spiritual sense. After breaking through to the spirit god realm and condensing a spirit god, one would be able to develop spiritual sense. It was more useful than the eyes and could sense everything. In the next moment, Lu Ming's face lit up with joy. The 9 seals of the divine gate is a type of sealing technique. It's a powerful secret technique. Lu Ming muttered to himself. The more he comprehended it, the more surprised he became. The 9 seals of the divine gate was a technique that could be used to condense the door of sealing and seal the opponent. When cultivated to a high level, it was said to be able to seal the heavens, earth, people, and everything. It was extremely terrifying. Amazing too amazing. The more Lu Ming comprehended, the more amazed he became. He discovered the power of the divine gate 9 seals. This was a terrifying secret technique that had been left behind by an emperor in the Saint Mansion's secret realm countless years ago. It had been lost in the outside world for countless years. Lu Ming simply found a hidden place and entered the mountain and river diagram. He sat cross-legged under the tree of enlightenment and carefully comprehended. Now the Tao comprehension ancient tree already produced 3 leaves, becoming more and more unordinary. Great Tao aura curled up around it. When one sat on the side, they could enter an ethereal state. Lu Ming was completely focused on comprehending the 9 seals of the God Gate. Gradually, a mysterious light began to emanate from his body. As time passed, the light began to condense, transforming into a glowing door. It was like a door leading to the eternal unknown. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, Lu Ming's hands formed a series of hand seals at extreme speed. A light gate condensed and flew towards Dandan. The light gate shone brightly, enveloping Dandan within. Nestling, what are you doing? Dandan's limbs flailed wildly, as if it was being suppressed. Only when Dandan's body glowed brightly and inscribed various formations did it manage to escape. Not bad. Lu Ming smiled. Even the vampiric vine couldn't stop Dandan from escaping. Its ability to escape was unfathomable and slippery. However, even Dandan was careless and was suppressed by the gate of sealing for a moment. Lu Ming was very satisfied with the power of the gate of sealing. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be suppressed by the gate of sealing. In a battle between experts, even if one was sealed for a moment, it could determine life and death. Moreover, as Lu Ming's cultivation increased, the power of the gate of sealing would also increase. It could be used as one of Lu Ming's trump cards, especially since Lu Ming had just started cultivating. He could only cultivate 1 gate of sealing. The 9 seals of the God Gate, when cultivated to the highest level, could cultivate 9 gates of sealing. That was truly terrifying. With each additional gate of sealing, the power of the gate of sealing would multiply. I've already wasted 3 days. I can't waste any more time. It's rare for me to enter the Saint Mansion's secret realm. I can't waste it. With a thought, Lu Ming came out of the mountain river map. He randomly chose a direction and flew forward. Dandan also climbed onto Lu Ming's shoulder and looked around for spiritual herbs. Roar! On a mountain peak in front of him, a giant wolf appeared. It was as big as a mountain, and its entire body was silvery white. It raised its head and howled, causing the entire mountain range to shake violently. So powerful, Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He retracted his aura and landed on a mountain range below to observe from afar. Rumble! Suddenly, the mountain range below Lu Ming's feet moved violently, and then it floated in the air and flew toward the giant wolf. Nestle! Lu Ming realized that the mountain range below his feet was not a mountain range, but a giant snake. The giant snake was as big as a mountain, and its body was covered with mud, rocks, and trees. It lay there motionlessly like a mountain range. Titan giant snake, no, even if it's not a pure-blooded Titan giant snake, it's close. Lu Ming wailed and hurriedly flew to the side. Fortunately, the giant snake only had eyes for the giant silver wolf, and did not pay attention to Lu Ming. Roar! The giant silver wolf roared, and with a stomp of its foot, the mountain peak below it shattered. Its huge body pounced on the giant snake. The two behemoths fought fiercely, and for a moment, heaven and earth shook, and the mountain peaks shattered. What a powerful vicious beast! This is definitely not a force from the outside world, but a powerful vicious beast born and bred in the Saint Mansion's secret realm. Lu Ming avoided them from afar, not daring to get close. These two beasts were definitely at the high-level spiritual god realm, and they were extremely terrifying. This secret realm is very dangerous. Previously, I encountered the bloodthirsty vine, and now, I have to be careful. Lu Ming concealed his aura and flew carefully. Not long after, he saw a few saber marks on a cliff. He carefully sensed them, and found that they were left by a peerless expert. If a saber practitioner carefully comprehended them, they would definitely be enlightened. Rumor has it that 30,000 years ago, a supreme expert came here to cultivate. These saber marks are probably left behind by an expert who comprehended something during his cultivation. Lu Ming guessed. If so, there would be many such marks in the secret realm. If he could find the right one, it would be a great opportunity. Lu Ming did not stay long because he did not practice saber, and the marks did not fit him. Along the way, he found many spiritual herbs. Lu Ming only kept a few and gave the rest to Dandan. There's someone ahead. A day later, Lu Ming saw a figure flying in front of him. It was not someone from Cold Blood Hall, but someone from another force. When entering the Saint Mansion's secret realm, there were 9 light pillars that entered 9 different areas. However, these 9 areas were connected and were all in the same secret realm. The major forces began to enter separately to avoid disputes. However, as time passed, the people in the 9 areas would definitely encounter each other. Lu Ming guessed that he had already arrived at another area. Lu Ming flew forward and saw many people gathered under a stone wall, carefully observing and comprehending. Chapter 1074. Lu Ming pondered for a while, and realized that it was not useful to him. Just as he was about to leave, get lost, suddenly a loud roar could be heard. A young man in white with a long sword on his back came from the sky. A terrifying sword aura emanated from his body, and pressed down on the crowd. Wu Tsang. Sky Martial Sword Faction Wu Tsang. Many people were shocked. Sky Martial Sword Faction was extremely prosperous. It was one of the top factions in the Middle Continent. Not many factions could compare to it. In this generation, the Sky Martial Sword sect was also filled with geniuses. Just in terms of grade 2 geniuses alone, there were already 2 of them. Wu Qinkong and Wu Tsang. Wu Qinkong was the number 1 elite of Sky Martial Sword Faction, while Wu Tsang was ranked 2nd. Although he was ranked 2nd, he was as strong as Yin Bupo and Junyu. With 2 elite elites in this generation, Sky Martial Sword Faction's reputation was at its peak. Get lost. I want this place. Wuxia looked down from above. Many people gritted their teeth. This place was huge. Wuxia could have chosen a place to comprehend, but he chased them away. Although they were angry, they did not dare to voice it out. They could only leave. Many people had gained some insights, but they had no choice but to stop and leave this place. You're still not leaving? Wuxia looked at Lu Ming with a piercing gaze. Lu Ming looked calm. He glanced at Wuxia and left. This place was useless to him. He had already planned to leave, so there was no need to fight with Wuxia. Sky Martial Sword faction is really overbearing. Keep it down. Many elites have entered Sky Martial Sword faction. The previous generation's #1 elite is also here. Although his talent is not as good as Wuxia and Wu Qingkong, he has cultivated for more than 10 years. His combat strength is terrifying. We'd better not offend them. Some people discussed in low voices as they left the place. Lu Ming headed north, and soon appeared 10,000 miles away. Caw! A bird's cry resounded through the sky. A huge eagle soared through the sky, covering the sky and covering the sun. What a powerful aura! This was also a powerful beast. It was the overlord of this secret realm. The giant eagle flew to a cliff in front of them and landed. Lu Ming realized that there was a nest on the cliff. That is, from a distance, Lu Ming discovered that there was a strange aura on the cliff. There were vague marks on it that looked like a human figure. There are traces left behind by supreme experts. I wonder if they will be of any use to me. Lu Ming carefully approached the eagle's nest and waited patiently. This wait lasted for an entire day. The next day, the giant eagle let out a long cry, spread its wings, and flew away from its nest. After the giant eagle left, Lu Ming rushed down the cliff to take a closer look. There was really a figure carved on the cliff. This figure seemed to be launching an attack. Boom! Boom! Upon closer inspection, the figure seemed to have moved. A terrifying killing intent exploded out, enveloping Lu Ming. Kill! With an explosive roar, that figure sent a palm strike towards Lu Ming. A terrifying killing intent enveloped Lu Ming, causing his entire body to turn cold. He couldn't even muster up the will to resist. The palm strike directly landed on his body. Lu Ming was shocked. He took several steps back, only to realize that everything was an illusion. So powerful, Lu Ming let out a long breath. He was a little shocked, but also a little excited. This was a martial technique that was extremely powerful. It contained killing intent, and could even affect one's mind. Lu Ming activated his third bloodline, and could borrow the powerful slaughter intent. This martial technique was just right for Lu Ming. Let's try to comprehend it here, and see if I can comprehend this martial technique. Lu Ming stepped forward, and observed carefully. Lu Ming guarded his heart, and remained motionless. Whoosh! This time it wasn't a palm strike. A sword appeared in the figure's hand, and it slashed out. Lu Ming remained motionless, allowing the battle sword to slash past him. As expected, the battle sword was like an illusion. After slashing past, the figure executed another move. This time, it turned into a saber. Whoosh! Whoosh! This figure moved freely, executing all kinds of attacks. The weapon in its hand was also unpredictable. What a mysterious martial technique. Lu Ming looked at it for a while, and finally figured out something. This martial technique didn't have a fixed move. In other words, the move was only the surface. The key was the intent. Once one comprehended the intent of this martial technique, any weapon would be able to unleash great power. This was a killing move that was specially created to kill people. Its power was extremely strong. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the air, carefully comprehending and studying. In the evening, a cry resounded in the sky. The giant eagle had returned. Lu Ming left and sat cross-legged not far away to continue comprehending. After the giant eagle left the next day, Lu Ming returned to the cliff and continued to comprehend. Brat, get lost! Suddenly, a loud roar was heard, interrupting Lu Ming's comprehension. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly as he turned around. Wuxia, it was that person again. Now he had his eyes on this cliff. Get lost! A cold shout came from Lu Ming. Wuxia was stunned. He obviously didn't expect Lu Ming to tell him to get lost. Then, Wu Song's eyes revealed a trace of killing intent as he stared at Lu Ming. Brat, do you know who you are talking to? If you say the wrong thing, you will pay with your life. Get lost. Lu Ming's voice was even colder when he said the second word. You are courting death. Wu Song shouted coldly as his sword chi surged. He slashed out with his palm, and a terrifying sword radiance slashed down at Lu Ming. Lu Ming casually waved his hand and deflected the sword radiance. He got up and stepped towards Wu Song. You have some skills, but you are wrong to be so arrogant in front of me. Wu Song shouted as he unsheathed his sword. The sword's cry shook the sky. Swoosh. The sword cut through the void, creating a terrifying crack in space. Roar, roar, roar. A dragon's roar came from Lu Ming's body as the dragon power erupted. Lu Ming's body was covered in purple light. With a palm strike, Wu Song's sword chi was shattered. Lu Ming didn't stop and continued towards Wu Song. You! Wu Song was shocked and in disbelief. Lu Ming's combat strength was far beyond his imagination. Where did this expert come from? Without time to think, Wu Song quickly retreated. A bloodline sword appeared above his head. It was a level 8 divine grade bloodline. He performed bloodline fusion and turned into a battle sword. He slashed out a shocking sword radiance, wanting to split Lu Ming in half. Clang! Lu Ming clenched his fist and activated the suppressing hell skill. He struck out with a terrifying force on the sword radiance. The battle sword shook violently and almost collapsed as it was sent flying far away. Swoosh! Lu Ming stepped forward and threw out a punch. The battle sword shook violently and was sent flying tens of thousands of meters away, splitting 2 mountains. Run, run. Wu Song was horrified. He controlled the battle sword and turned to run. Lu Ming stepped into the air and chased after Wu Song. Wu Song turned into a sword radiance and flew out a few hundred miles in an instant. However, Lu Ming was even faster. Wu Song was almost scared out of his wits. Stop. I am a disciple of the Sky Martial Sword sect. If you dare to attack me again, you will be an enemy of the Sky Martial Sword sect. Chapter 1075. Lu Ming sneered and continued to step forward. He clenched his fist and punched out. There was no doubt that Lu Ming had unleashed the power of 7 dragons and activated the heaven suppressing art. Coupled with the 5-color concept, his power was terrifying. Clang! Another punch landed on the sword. This time, Wu Song could not resist it anymore. The sword exploded, revealing his true body. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fled frantically. Oh my god, who is that? It looks like Wu Song. Yes, it's him. He's actually running away and being chased. Who's so powerful? To be able to chase after Wu Song? Isn't that the weakling? He's chasing after Wu Song. He's so terrifying. He just defeated Wu Song's bloodline fusion with 1 punch. What weakling? He's clearly a rare genius with unparalleled combat strength. He's too strong. No wonder he could pass the heavenly market cave. Not far away, 5 or 6 people passed by. When they saw this scene, they were dumbfounded. Wu Song did not know Lu Ming, because he was not there when he went through the heavenly market cave. He only arrived after the secret manual of the Saint's mansion was opened. However, those who passed by recognized Lu Ming. Back then, they also thought that Lu Ming was lucky to pass the heavenly market cave. Now they were really shocked and thought that they were dreaming. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps and was astonishingly fast. He caught up with Wu Song in a few moments and punched out again. No. Wu Song roared and tried his best to resist, but half of his body was still shattered by the punch. Bang! Then Lu Ming stomped his foot. Wu Song screamed and was torn into pieces. Another second-class prodigy had been killed. However, just like Shui Luozi, after Wu Song was killed, another ray of white light shrouded him. Not far away, his body actually condensed again. He gave Lu Ming a resentful look. Then with a tremor, he disappeared without a trace. Life talismans again. Lu Ming frowned. These second-class geniuses all had the potential to become rulers. The major forces valued them very much and spent a lot of money to buy life talismans from the World Academy. Almost all the second-class prodigies had one. Second-class geniuses were too important. There was hope for them to become rulers. An Emperor realm expert could make a force become an overlord force, allowing it to prosper for 10,000 to 20,000 years, compared to a supreme being, who knew how many times more important. What these overlord powers hoped for the most was to have a successor. If there was no successor and no new emperor was born, then the overlord power would quickly weaken. For example, the Medicine King Valley and the Talisman Puppet sect. In the history of the Divine Wilderness, there had been countless overlord factions, but how many of them had been able to prosper and pass down their legacies? Very few. Many overlord forces eventually weakened because there were no emperors among the later generations. One could imagine how highly those overlord forces valued second-class geniuses. In the distance, the few of them sucked in a breath of cold air and broke out in cold sweat. Lu Ming was too ruthless. A second-grade genius was killed just like that. Fortunately, they had the life talisman. Otherwise, the Sky Martial Sword sect would go crazy. Lu Ming glanced at the few of them and ignored them. He returned to the cliff and continued to comprehend the killing move. The World Academy. Outside the Universe Jade Annulus, it was still crowded with people. High up in the sky, the Supreme sat cross-legged and waited silently. Buzz! Suddenly, a white light flashed and Wuxia appeared. Everyone's eyes turned to look at him. Wuxia, it's Wuxia. He was killed. What danger did he encounter? It seems like the secret realm is really dangerous. I wonder how many of those without life talismans died. Danger comes with opportunity. It's worth it if you can get something out of it. Many people looked at Wuxia in disgust. Wuxia, what happened? High up in the sky, one of the Sky Martial Sword sect's supremes asked. Since the supremes asked, Wuxia did not dare to ignore them. A dark-skinned young man. He looked simple and honest, but he was extremely cunning. Wuxia did not know Lu Ming's name, so he described Lu Ming's appearance. What? Wasn't this the appearance of that trash Lu Shaoqing? It's him again. He's really a killing god. First, he killed many experts from Cold Blood Hall, Sanguinarum, and now he killed Wuxia. He's really terrifying. He killed so many geniuses consecutively. His battle strength is amazing. I'm afraid he's one of the top second-class geniuses. Many people exclaimed. Those from Cold Blood Hall looked gloomy. Sanguinarum gritted his teeth and looked terrible. Why did they have to drag them into it? On the cliff in the Saint Mansion secret realm, Lu Ming was carefully comprehending. Every time the giant eagle returned, he would leave. The next day, when the giant eagle went out to look for food, he would go and comprehend. After 5 consecutive days, he gained a lot. This mark was not complete. It was just a kind of intent. Lu Ming comprehended 5 killing moves from this intent. Lu Ming named them the 5 killing moves. The 5 killing moves did not have a specific move. It was just a way to use the slaughter essence. In other words, without the slaughter essence, it was useless. However, when Lu Ming borrowed the power of the third bloodline, he could borrow the slaughter essence. Thus, the 5 killing moves came in handy. Previously, when Lu Ming borrowed the power of the third bloodline, it was just pure strength. With the 5 killing moves, it would undoubtedly be more powerful. Almost there. 5 days later, Lu Ming got up and left. This mark was not complete. Even if he continued to comprehend, he would not gain much. Lu Ming left and continued to look for opportunities. One day later, Lu Ming came to a lush mountain range. Hey, why are all the spiritual herbs along the way emptied out? Which bastard did this? Dandan ran around like a gust of wind, cursing. In this mountain range, the spirit chi was very dense. Ancient trees towered into the sky. Along the way, Dandan found dozens of pits left behind by the spiritual herbs. According to Dandan's speculation, they were all left behind by level 8 spiritual herbs. He was angry that someone had gotten to them first. They are too clean. Not even a hair is left. Dandan sighed. Lu Ming was also speechless. They had changed several positions in this mountain range, but it was still the same. There is someone in front. Suddenly, Dandan stared and climbed onto Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming restrained his aura and moved forward carefully. In front of him, a figure in white clothes was walking in the air, flashing in the mountain forest. From the back, he looked very young. However, he was bald, and the top of his head was smooth and round. His movement technique was extremely fast. Like a gust of wind, he appeared in front of a spiritual herb. "My hair good," the bald man murmured, and then waved his sleeve. The spiritual herb left the ground, and was kept by him. Could it be a Western Desert holy monk? Lu Ming was surprised. Legend had it that the Western Desert was different from other places. They cultivated Buddhism. The entire Western Desert mainly cultivated Buddhism, and there were many ancient temples. Judging from the bald man's clothes and the Buddhist chants, he was clearly a Western Desert holy monk. After keeping the spiritual herb, the Western Desert holy monk continued forward. Not long after, he came to a dark underground cave and observed carefully. Chapter 1076. In the Western Desert holy monk's hand, a round plate emitted a beam of purple light that shot into the sky. It was so shocking that it could be seen even from far away. After a while, the Western Desert holy monk put away the round plate, and the beam of light disappeared. That was because there were streaks of rainbow light flashing in the distance. Someone was attracted. What is that guy trying to do? Lu Ming was hiding not far away. He had seen everything. The Western Desert holy monk put away the round plate and returned to the dark cave. He shouted, "The treasure in this cave is mine." After shouting, his figure flashed and he quickly left the cave. Soon, more than a dozen streaks of rainbow light flew over, revealing more than a dozen figures. "The treasure is in the cave. Kill. We can't let others beat us to it. Get lost. It's mine." More than a dozen experts rushed into the cave. Roar, roar, roar. In the cave, the roars of beasts were heard. The entire ground was shaking as a fierce fight broke out in the cave. That guy is using someone else to do his dirty work. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Didn't they say that the Western Desert holy monks were kind-hearted and would help all living beings? That guy was too unreliable. Could he be a fake? "I have hair, I have no hair. Buddha is merciful." That guy chanted again. In a flash, he didn't enter the cave, but went in another direction. "That guy is very mysterious. Let's follow him." Lu Ming quietly followed the Western Desert holy monk and came to a place dozens of miles away. There was a huge cave in that place. At that moment, Lu Ming heard a loud roar coming from the cave, and then it gradually faded away. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He finally understood that guy's motive. This cave was connected to the other cave dozens of miles away. This guy from the Western Desert was using someone else's cave to lure the ferocious beasts away. Then he could easily enter this cave and search for treasures. That wasn't a merciful holy monk. He was clearly an unscrupulous monk. That monk looked around furtively. Only then did Lu Ming see his face. She had a baby face and was slightly chubby. Her skin was so smooth that it would make women jealous. Her skin was pink and tender, and she looked harmless to humans and animals. He looked around, then chanted the name of Buddha, and rushed into the cave. This guy is really not a good person. On his shoulder, Dandan looked at him with disdain. Lu Ming curled his lips and thought, "You're about the same as him. There must be treasures in this cave. Let's go in and take a look." Lu Ming also carefully rushed into the cave. The cave was very large. After a few thousand meters, it became even more spacious, like a huge underground cavern. Faint rumbling sounds could be heard from the front. It was clear that the battle was extremely intense. Next, I saw a few pits. There must have been some spiritual herbs growing there, but they were all dug up by that monk. What a pity, Dandan lamented. As the two of them continued forward, they realized that the underground caverns were crisscrossing. They could no longer see the monk's shadow. Lu Ming walked forward casually. Suddenly, he stopped as a purple light attracted his attention. On one of the walls, a hazy purple light was emitted. It was hazy and beautiful. Lu Ming channeled his true yuan and wiped away the rocks on the surface. A Longan-sized purple crystal appeared. "This is a purple flame crystal." Lu Ming was shocked, but he was overjoyed. Purple flame crystal was a precious material that was rarely seen in the world. It could be used to refine weapons or pills. It was priceless. Most importantly, purple flame crystal was one of the most important main materials for refining nirvana pills. It was a level 9 material. Lu Ming did not expect to find a purple flame crystal here. He immediately condensed his true yuan into a blade and dug out the surrounding rocks to dig out the purple flame crystal. So heavy. The Longan-sized purple flame crystal weighed more than 10,000 kilograms. It was really shocking. I wonder if there are more. After Lu Ming put away the purple flame crystal, he looked around carefully. It would be great if he could find a few pieces here. Although nirvana pills were not very useful to Lu Ming, they were very useful to others. If Fatty Kong Jin had nirvana pills, he could even raise his third bloodline to level 9 divine grade. There were also his parents and disciples. In the future, when he met Xian Yinqing, Mulins, and the others, they would all be very useful. If there was a chance, Lu Ming wanted to collect the materials and refine a few cauldrons. After walking around for a while, Lu Ming discovered something else. There was purple light emitting from one of the walls. Just as Lu Ming was about to dig, a terrifying gust of wind attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. He turned around and threw out a palm strike. Bang! A terrifying force surged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming could not help but take a few steps back. What a powerful force! Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Although he did not release his dragon force earlier, his vital essence was extremely strong, coupled with the 5 types of intense and the hell-suppressing heaven skill. An ordinary martial artist at the 2nd level of spirit god would be killed by him with one palm strike. But now he was forced to retreat. My hair. A Buddhist chant was heard. A harmless face appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the monk. He looked very young, in his 20s. He squinted his eyes and smiled. He put his palms together and said, "Benefactor, the ferocious beasts in this cave were lured away by my friends. It's not good for you to take advantage of them like this, right?" Even though he was talking, the monk was still smiling. Lu Ming and Dandan looked at him with disdain. Those people were obviously tricked by the monk. But in the monk's mouth, they became his friends. How shameless. Master, everyone has a share. I saw what you did just now. If this spreads out, I'm afraid it won't be good for the reputation of the Western Desert holy monk. Lu Ming said with a smile. My hair. My Buddha is merciful. I think you've misunderstood. Monks are merciful. The baby-faced monk chanted a Buddhist chant. Roar. Before the monk could finish, a loud roar was heard. A huge lizard shining with purple flames pounced towards the monk. Buzz! A golden light shone from the monk's body. He threw out a palm, and a huge golden palm print hit the purple lizard. With a boom, the lizard was shattered into pieces. Merciful? Lu Ming was tongue-tied. My hair. My Buddha is merciful. The monk chanted a Buddhist chant again. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Benefactor, I've taken a liking to this purple flame crystal. Why don't you give it to me? What if I don't? Lu Ming said, My hair. My Buddha. Hair your sister. I know you don't have hair. Lu Ming shouted and suddenly attacked. The dragon force in his body erupted and his strength increased. He threw a punch at Monk Wuliang. Monk Wuliang's body shone brightly. The dazzling golden light spread, making Monk Wuliang look like the reincarnation of Buddha. In addition, he had a harmless face. If Lu Ming had not seen him secretly, he would have thought that he was an enlightened monk. Boom! Chapter 1077. Boom! A terrifying explosion resounded as energy shot out in all directions. The underground cave shook violently. The rock of this underground cave was extremely hard. Perhaps it was because of the strong beasts living here. If it was an ordinary cave, it would have exploded. Even so, the entire underground cave was shaking violently. Bam! Bam! After one move, Lu Ming's body trembled as he retreated a few steps. So strong. This monk's strength is actually so terrifying. Lu Ming was shocked. At this moment, he had already unleashed his dragon force, but he was still pushed back by the other party. The golden palm print was shockingly powerful, as though it could suppress everything. It was on par with the suppressing hell skill. Lu Ming was shocked. Unscrupulous monk was also surprised. He did not expect Lu Ming to be able to receive his palm without being injured. Roar! Roar! The shaking here attracted the attention of the beasts on the other side. Loud roars could be heard. Clearly, some beasts were charging over. I have hair. Benefactor, you are so strong. This purple flame crystal can be yours. This little monk will take his leave." Unscrupulous monk chanted Buddha's name and left with his sleeves fluttering. The western desert is indeed unfathomable. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Since ancient times, the western desert had always been the territory of Buddhism. It had always been mysterious and powerful. Many people said that the western desert was second only to the central continent among the 5 major territories in the divine wilderness. Roar! 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 The thunderous roars caused the underground cave to rumble. Lu Ming did not think too much about it. He dug out the purple flame crystal and left the place in a flash. Next, Lu Ming walked around the underground cave for a while, but he did not find a third purple flame crystal. Instead, he found a few purple giant lizards, which were killed by Lu Ming. However, there was obviously a nest of giant lizards in this underground cave. Some of them were very strong. Lu Ming did not stay for long. After a while, he left the cave and flew into the distance. Hoo-hoo, a gust of wind blew past. Lu Ming smiled. After obtaining 2 purple flame crystals, Lu Ming was in a good mood. There were 7 main ingredients for refining the nirvana pill. Each of them was extremely precious and rarely appeared in the outside world. Now that he had obtained one, it could be considered an opportunity. Naturally, Lu Ming was in a good mood. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded. Up ahead, sword energy rushed into the heavens. Inscriptions flickered, and space was torn apart. There were people fighting an intense battle. Lu Ming flew over at an extremely fast speed. Using the water concept, he condensed a cloud of mist and hid within it to watch. There were a total of 4 people in the battle, and Lu Ming was quite familiar with a few of them. Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xian, the genius of the World Academy, and Wu Chengkong of the Celestial Martial Sword Sect. Lastly, there was a burly man in his 40s who was no weaker than Wu Chengkong. The 4 of them were in a chaotic battle. However, it was clear that Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were working together. The 2 of them were fighting against Wu Chengkong and the muscular man. The battle was extremely intense. That is, at this time, Lu Ming discovered that there was a small lake below. The lake water was clear, and in the lake, there were 3 carps swimming around. The 3 carps shone with golden light, and their bodies glowed with light. Sometimes they gathered, sometimes they scattered, and when they did they looked like a true dragon. Dragon carp, it's actually a dragon carp. Lu Ming was shocked. Dragon carps were also a kind of supreme treasure. It was said that they were the descendants of true dragons, and had the blood of true dragons in their bodies. When used to refine elixirs, they were a rare treasure medicine. Its value was even higher than that of purple flame crystals. Coincidentally, one of the 7 main ingredients for refining nirvana elixirs was the blood of dragon carps. You want to compete with me? You're courting death. The dragon carps are mine. Wu Chengkong shouted, his murderous intent surging. Wu Chengkong, don't be too overbearing. There are 3 dragon carps. How about 1 for each of us? Sandalwood Fairy spoke. 1 for each of us. Are you qualified? All 3 of them are mine. Wu Chengkong sneered. His sword energy whistled, and cracks appeared in the space. It was extremely terrifying. The other muscular man did not speak. His body emitted a white light as he waved his hand. A sky-covering palm appeared, tearing the heavens and the earth apart. This is the great sky-splitting palm. This person should be an expert from the Ji family, an overlord force. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Among the 3 parties, Wu Chengkong's combat strength was astonishing. The muscular man from the Ji family had a profound cultivation, and was not weak either. However, when Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian joined forces, their combat strength was terrifying. They were not weaker than the others. It was difficult to determine the outcome of the battle in a short period of time. Lu Ming smiled. He suddenly unleashed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, and dashed toward the surface of the lake. In an instant, he appeared above the surface of the lake. With a grab, a huge vital essence hand appeared and grabbed toward the 3 dragon carps. Who is it? You're courting death. At this moment, the people in the air were shocked. Wu Chengkong even roared in anger. The 3 dragon carps were about to fall into Lu Ming's hand. However, At this moment, the 3 dragon carps glowed and turned into a ray of light. In a flash, they escaped from Lu Ming's true essence giant hand. Lu Ming was shocked. Just as he was about to use all his strength to capture them, a terrifying sword energy slashed toward Lu Ming. Helpless, Lu Ming could only turn around and punch out. Bang! The sword energy was defeated. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, Wu Chengkong, the brawny man from the Ji family, Sandalwood Fairy, and Kong Xian appeared around Lu Ming. However, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they locked their auras on Lu Ming. Brat, it's you? Wu Chengkong was taken aback when he saw Lu Ming clearly. Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were also surprised. Apparently, they had recognized Lu Ming. Brat, to be able to block my sword attack, you must be quite capable. You must have been hiding your strength. Wu Chengkong looked coldly at Lu Ming and continued. However, you dare to capture dragon carps under my nose. You're going to die. In the Martial Saint secret ground, everyone has a share. Of course, I can take action when I see the treasure. Lu Ming curled his lips. If you take action, you'll have to pay with your life. Wu Chengkong's killing intent exploded. When Lu Ming had refused to give up his spot in the marrow cleansing pool, he had already wanted to kill Lu Ming. Now his killing intent was even stronger. Whoosh! Wu Chengkong swung his sword, and a terrifying sword chi slashed at Lu Ming. It was even stronger than before. Lu Ming was fearless. He activated the suppressing hell skill, and punched out with his dragon force. Boom! The heavens and the earth trembled as the energy surged. Pillars of water rose from the lake below. The 3 dragon carps flashed and dodged the energy. Bang! The sword chi dissipated. Lu Ming broke the sword chi with his fist. He stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "You're still not strong enough." Then he punched out again. Lu Ming's fist seemed to contain the force of millions of tons. It was so terrifying that the entire space trembled. So strong? Wu Chengkong was shocked. His true essence surged, and his sword hummed as he slashed out a shocking sword chi. However, it was useless. Lu Ming was like an invincible god of war. He punched out and destroyed the sword chi. He quickly approached Wu Chengkong. On the side, Sandalwood Fairy, Kong Xian, and the others were also shocked. They had never imagined that the young man, who had passed the heavenly market cave by luck, would be so powerful. It was too terrifying. Why do I find this person's fighting style a little familiar? Sandalwood Fairy said. I have the same feeling. Kong Xian said. Whoosh. Chapter 1078. Don't even think about it. Sandalwood Fairy shouted. She waved her hand, and a few elixirs flew out. The elixirs glowed and turned into weapons that attacked the burly man from the Ji family. At the same time, Kong Xian also attacked the burly man from the Ji family. The 3 of them engaged in a fierce battle. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming was brave and invincible. He stepped on the void and punched with earth-shattering force. The void continued to explode as Wu Chengkong was forced to retreat. He was at a complete disadvantage. Finally, he let out a long roar and used bloodline fusion to turn into a battle sword. The sword chi whistled as he fought Lu Ming. To be honest, Wu Chengkong's battle strength was very strong. He was much stronger than Sanguinarum. No wonder he was called one of the strongest experts after the 5 magnates. He had the right to be arrogant. However, his cultivation was still at LV1 spiritual god. Lu Ming was never afraid of anyone at the same level. Clang! Clang! After a few consecutive punches, the battle sword was sent flying and vibrating in the air. Damn it, who are you? Wu Chengkong roared in disbelief. He could not believe that someone who appeared out of nowhere had such terrifying battle strength. Not far away, Kong Xian and the others were also shocked. Wu Chengkong was completely suppressed. It was too shocking. Who else could do this except for the 5 magnates? Rumble! At this moment, a terrifying explosion came from afar. A ray of blood light flew over at high speed. Swoosh! A burly figure appeared in the air. His eyes were like lightning. When he saw Lu Ming, his killing intent was even more shocking. Lu Shaoqing Dai. With a roar, the figure punched out. The blood-red fist radiance pierced through the void and blasted toward Lu Ming. Shuefeng! Lu Ming frowned. This figure was Cold Blood Hall's #1 genius of the previous generation, Xuefeng. He did not expect Xuefeng to be here. Lu Ming punched back and collided with Xuefeng's fist radiance. His body trembled, and he was forced to retreat. Xuefeng was very strong, with a level 7 divine bloodline and a LV4 spiritual god cultivation. His battle strength was terrifying. Xuefeng stepped forward with a violent aura. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Lu Ming. At this moment, Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian were dumbfounded. Lu Xiaoqing? Just now, Xuefeng had called Lu Ming Lu Xiaoqing. This dark-skinned young man was actually Lu Xiaoqing? Sandalwood Fairy and her companion exchanged a blow with the Ji clan's burly man and retreated far away. They did not continue fighting. Xuefeng's arrival made the situation even more complicated. "Brother Lu, it's you?" Sandalwood Fairy said. "Fairy, how have you been?" Lu Ming smiled. Facing Xuefeng, he remained calm. "It's really you." Kong Xian was also shocked. At that moment, Wu Qinkong retreated far away and observed from afar. "This brat offended Xuefeng, he's courting death." Wu Qinkong sneered. "Kill!" Xuefeng roared, stepped forward and punched out. The space shattered under the blood-red fist. It was extremely terrifying. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The third bloodline appeared, and a trace of power entered Lu Ming's body. Instantly, a terrifying killing intent emanated from Lu Ming's body, and his hair turned blood-red. Then, the third bloodline turned into a sword, which Lu Ming held in his hand and slashed out. Puff! The blood-red sword light flashed and split Xuefeng's fist in half. "Is that his bloodline? Strange, why is there no chakra?" Sandalwood Fairy and the others were shocked. First, they were shocked that Lu Ming had finally used his bloodline power. His combat strength had indeed increased, and he had not used his full strength before. Second, they were shocked that Lu Ming's bloodline did not have a chakra. This was unheard of. Damn it, this guy probably doesn't have a life talisman. I must find a way to kill him. When he fights Xuefeng, I'll wait for an opportunity to strike. Wu Qinkong's mind kept spinning. Xuefeng was also shocked when he saw Lu Ming's sword break his fist. The true essence in his body circulated wildly, and his aura became even more violent. Divine Blood Leopard Fist. Xuefeng's fists were like blood jade, and he constantly punched out. Fist radiance flew out, and in the process, it turned into a blood leopard and pounced on Lu Ming. This was a divine level martial skill, and it was extremely powerful. 5 slaughter styles. Lu Ming circulated the 5 slaughter styles, and the blood-red battle sword buzzed. Sword radiance shot out, and scattered the blood leopards one after another. Slaughter mentality. Xuefeng was shocked, and at the same time, he was even more determined to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's talent was too shocking. He was only at the first level of spirit god, but he could already fight with him. Bloodline appeared above his head, and in the next moment, he turned into a blood leopard, roaring and pouncing on Lu Ming. Lu Ming was fearless. He held his battle sword and fought with Xuefeng. Lu Ming's combat strength was unparalleled, and he was invincible among those at the same level. However, Xuefeng's cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. Moreover, he had also comprehended a divine-level martial skill, and his bloodline fusion was even more powerful. Lu Ming and Xuefeng exchanged dozens of moves, and gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. "The difference between our cultivation is too great. If I use the 9 Dragons bloodline, or the Suppressing Hell Steel bloodline, and the 3rd bloodline, I might be able to fight with him." Lu Ming's mind raced. However, this result was already enough to shock everyone present to the extreme. "I didn't expect Brother Lu's combat strength to be so strong. This is too shocking." Kong Xian was tongue-tied, and after a while he said this. He was also at the first level of spirit god, but he realized that if he fought with Lu Ming now, he would be easily killed. On the other side, the battle sword that Wu Qinkong had transformed into was also trembling in fear. If Lu Ming had used this kind of combat strength, he would not have been able to resist at all. He was too strong. That's right. Even the 5 great authorities might not be as strong as him. Sandalwood Fairy sighed. Seal. In the middle of the battle, Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the God Gate, and a light gate was formed. It shone brightly and suppressed Shuefeng. For a moment, Shuefeng was actually frozen. Kill! Lu Ming took a step forward and slashed at Shuefeng's head with his sword. Roar! Shuefeng roared, and a bloody light burst out. With a bang, the light gate was shattered at the critical moment. Shuefeng continued to retreat, but he was still one step too late, and a piece of his scalp was cut off. Then, Lu Ming lifted his leg and kicked Shuefeng's stomach, sending him flying. What a pity! Lu Ming lamented in his heart. His cultivation was still not strong enough, and the gate of the seal was broken by Shuefeng's violent True Yuan. If Lu Ming's cultivation was stronger, or if he had cultivated 2 gates of the seal, it would not be so easy for Shuefeng to break it. The gate of the seal was not omnipotent. If one's cultivation was too strong, Lu Ming would not be able to seal it. Even so, Shuefeng was already shivering. He looked at Lu Ming with fear in his eyes. Just now, he was almost killed by Lu Ming's sword. What kind of secret technique is this? It's so terrifying. He was horrified. For a moment, he dared not step forward to fight with Lu Ming. Kill! This time, it was Lu Ming's turn to take the initiative. He stepped forward and attacked Shuefeng. Buzz! Chapter 1079. The gate of seals glowed and flew toward Shuefeng like a ray of light. Moreover, the light emitted by the gate of seals also had a sealing effect. Shuefeng could not escape at all. His body was enveloped by the light of the gate of seals, and he could not help but stiffen. Swoosh! Lu Ming's body was like a flickering shadow as he rushed toward Shuefeng. The blood leopard that Shuefeng had transformed into let out a furious roar. Blood spurted out like a volcanic eruption and rushed towards the gate of seals. This time, Lu Ming was even faster. The blood sword pierced through the void and pierced through the blood leopard's body in an instant. Roar! The blood leopard let out a shocking roar as it broke through the gate of seals and clawed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. In a hurry, he struck out with his palm and clashed with the blood leopard's claw. With a loud bang, Lu Ming's body was sent flying a few thousand meters away. His qi and blood were in turmoil, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Shuefeng's genuine yuan was too strong. The moment Lu Ming stabbed him, he broke through the gate of seals and launched a counterattack. However, the blood leopard that Shuefeng had transformed into was definitely not in a good state after being stabbed by Lu Ming. At this moment, he roared and did not dare to continue the battle. Instead, he turned and ran. Lu Ming did not chase after him. With his current cultivation, coupled with the 9 seals of the Divine Gate, he could indeed injure Shuefeng. However, it was almost impossible to kill him. If Shuefeng went all out, Lu Ming would not be in a good state either. In the blink of an eye, Shuefeng had disappeared. As for Wu Qingkong, he had already sneaked away before Shuefeng had escaped. As for the dragon carp, he did not dare to take it anymore. If he stayed, he would definitely be killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the expression of the Ji family's strong man changed. In the end, he let out a long sigh and turned to leave. His combat strength was only on par with Wu Qingkong. If he continued to stay, he would only be courting death. In an instant, only Lu Ming, Sandalwood Fairy, and Kong Xian were left above the lake. Brother Lu, why did you disguise yourself? Even your aura has changed. We are suffering. Sandalwood said with a smile. There are some people that I don't want to see. Fairy, please forgive me. Lu Ming smiled. Then, Lu Ming looked at the 3 dragon carps in the lake and said, Do you two also need dragon carps? It's all thanks to Brother Lu this time. Otherwise, if Shuefeng had arrived, Brother Kong and I probably wouldn't have gained anything. These 3 dragon carps naturally belong to Brother Lu. Sandalwood said. Fairy, you're too polite. I only need 2. As for the other one, you can take it. Lu Ming smiled and landed on the surface of the lake. He used the Divine Gate 9 seals. In a flash, the Gate of Seals appeared and locked the 3 dragon carps in place. Then, his Zhen Yuan condensed into a giant hand and scooped up the 3 dragon carps. With a wave of his hand, 2 of the dragon carps disappeared. Lu Ming had collected them into a small lake in the mountain and river diagram. To refine the Nirvana pill, he only needed the true blood of the dragon carps, not the dragon carps. Therefore, 2 dragon carps were enough, and more would not be of much use. There was no harm in giving the other one to Sandalwood Fairy. Thank you, Brother Lu. Sandalwood Fairy was overjoyed. She was an alchemist, and this dragon carp was indeed of great use to her. After Sandalwood Fairy put it away, she was about to say something when her expression suddenly froze. She revealed a look of surprise and stared ahead with wide eyes. On the side, Kong Xian was the same. He seemed to have seen something extremely shocking. Lu Ming was a little surprised. He turned around and in the next moment, his eyes immediately widened. In front of him, at an unknown distance, there was a magnificent palace that emerged from the void. It was surrounded by clouds and mist outside, like an immortal palace. It was incomparably huge, but it was full of vicissitudes, as if it had crossed endless years. It seemed real and illusory at the same time. From afar, it was very unreal, like an illusion. What kind of palace is this? It wasn't there just now. Lu Ming was surprised. There was nothing there just now, so why would an ancient palace suddenly appear? Sacred mansion, it's the sacred mansion. Kong Xian muttered to himself, his eyes revealing an incomparable excitement. Sacred mansion? Both Sandalwood Fairy and Lu Ming were very surprised. This arcane realm was called the Sacred Mansion Arcane Realm, but Lu Ming had never known what it meant. He did not expect that there really was a sacred mansion. Yes, in the ancient books of our World Academy, there is a sacred mansion in this arcane realm, and there is a supreme existence inside. It is said that it surpasses the Emperor. Kong Xian said word by word. His eyes were filled with excitement, as if he was on a pilgrimage. An existence that surpasses the Emperor. Lu Ming and Sandalwood gasped a breath of cold air. In the divine wilderness continent, the Emperor was the strongest. In the eyes of all cultivators, the Emperor was already a supreme existence. Their combat strength was earth-shattering. With a palm strike, they could split the sky and crack the earth, penetrate the earth, and pierce through the sky. It was boundlessly terrifying. The ultimate goal of all cultivators was to become an emperor and dominate the world. But now there was a figure above the Emperor here? How could it not be shocking? Is this true? Lu Ming asked. Kong Xian shook his head and said, I don't know, but it is indeed recorded in the ancient books. And according to the ancient books, the sacred mansion rarely appears. Even when the emperors could freely enter this place, no one has seen it. It has always been a legend, but now it has really appeared. It is incredible. Kong Xian sighed again and again. He was very excited, and then he revealed many secrets. According to the old legends, there was an existence that surpassed the sovereign level living in this Saint Mansion. If someone obtained the Saint Mansion token, they could enter the Saint Mansion with it and obtain great opportunities. They might even have the chance to obtain the inheritance of that existence. And the Sacred Mansion token was in the Sacred Mansion Arcane Realm. It is said that this Sacred Mansion Arcane Realm has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Even if it is in existence above the Emperor, it can't live for hundreds of thousands of years, right? Sandalwood Fairy said with some doubts. The path of cultivation was against the heavens. The higher the cultivation, the longer the lifespan. It was already very heaven-defying for an emperor to live for 10 to 20,000 years. It was equivalent to a mortal living for hundreds of years, watching the world change like a living history book. As for the existence above the emperor, no matter how powerful it was, it could not live for hundreds of thousands of years. It was too shocking and unbelievable. Unless it was a legendary god. Legend said that gods could exist with heaven and earth, but that was only a legend. I'm not too sure about that either. Kong Xian shook his head. Even so, their eyes were filled with flames. An existence that surpassed a ruler. This was too shocking. Once one reached such a boundary, one would definitely be all-powerful and unimaginable. If it was true, they would benefit endlessly if they obtained something. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a long howl resounded through the earth. It was extremely shocking. The three of them saw a huge silver wolf appear on a mountain peak in the distance. It howled at the sky, and its aura was shocking like a tsunami. With a stomp, the mountain peak collapsed. The silver wolf broke through the sky and flew in the direction of the sacred mansion. Rumble. In the sky, a mountain ridge moved. Upon closer look, it was a giant snake swimming across the sky, heading toward the sacred mansion. Bang! The earth rumbled and trembled. Not far away, a giant ape as tall as a mountain stepped on the ground, causing the earth to crack and the mountains to tremble. Chapter 1080. The land seemed to be boiling. Powerful beasts went berserk and flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Along the way, if they saw any human martial artists, they would kill them immediately. There were even powerful beasts that killed each other. Caw! With a sharp cry, the sky darkened as a terrifying pressure pressed down. Oh no, run! Lu Ming's face changed as he rushed to the side. Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian's faces also changed as they followed Lu Ming to the side. A strong wind blew as a giant eagle flew over their heads. Its eyes were as sharp as swords as it glanced at the three of them. With a flap of its wings, a terrifying tornado was formed and swept toward the three of them. Wherever the tornado passed, not to mention trees, even huge mountains were uprooted and swept into it. The scene was horrifying. The three of them ran forward at full speed to avoid the tornado. After the giant eagle fanned out the tornado, it ignored Lu Ming and the others and quickly flew away. The three of them didn't dare to take it head-on. They used their movement techniques to avoid it. After flying for a few thousand miles, the tornado weakened and disappeared into the air. Phew! The three of them let out a long breath. That giant eagle was definitely a beast above the 7th level spirit god realm. It was too strong. They were too weak. It seems that the sacred mansion has really appeared. The powerful beasts in the secret territory have all been alarmed. Kong Xian said. What are you going to do next? Lu Ming asked. We'll meet up with the other brothers and see if we can take a gamble. If we can get a little opportunity from the appearance of the sacred mansion, it will be endless benefits. Kong Xian's eyes were burning with passion. Sandalwood Fairy nodded. A group of people from the Medicine King Valley had also entered. She also wanted to meet up with them. Fairy, why don't we join forces? The Medicine King Valley is good at inscription. The World Academy also has people who are good at inscription and martial arts. Only by working together can we bring out the best in each other. Kong Xian said. Okay, it's decided. Brother Lu, will you come with us? Sandalwood Fairy looked at Lu Ming. No, I have other things to do. I'll take my leave now. Lu Ming shook his head, bid farewell to the two of them, and left. The two of them felt that it was a pity. If Lu Ming were to join them, their chances of success would undoubtedly be greater. Then the two of them left. With the appearance of the sacred residence, everyone in the secret realm was in an uproar. Everyone from the World Academy knew some secrets, and rumors about those above the ruler level had also spread. All the powerhouses who entered the secret realm were extremely enthusiastic. Powerhouses from various forces gathered and headed toward the sacred residence. Lu Ming flew all the way and soon saw a few corpses of ferocious beasts. They were all killed by the ferocious beasts. Lu Ming landed and his devouring power burst out, devouring the blood essence of the ferocious beasts. This was the reason why he had left Sandalwood Fairy and Kong Xian. Just now, the powerful vicious beasts in the mystic realm had gone on a rampage and killed many martial artists and weaker vicious beasts. Lu Ming didn't want to waste them, so he swallowed them and broke through to the next realm. Along the way, Lu Ming devoured all the human martial artists and ferocious beasts that he saw being killed. Many of them were at the spiritual god level. Lu Ming devoured more and more energy. After a full day, Lu Ming had devoured the energy of hundreds of human cultivators and vicious beasts. Then, he found a hidden place and entered the mountain river diagram to begin refining. The energy of the blood essence was all used to improve the 9 dragons' bloodline. The other energy was all converted into vital essence. Lu Ming began to break through to the 2nd level of the spirit god realm. His current conception of heaven and earth was completely ahead of his cultivation. As long as he had energy, he could break through to the next realm. Boom! Boom! The majestic vital essence gathered in the spiritual god, making it more solid. The spiritual god sat cross-legged in his dantian, his whole body glowing and looking solemn. After a long time, with a rumble, Lu Ming's aura surged. the second level of the spirit god realm. Lu Ming had finally broken through to the second level of the spirit god realm, and his strength had greatly improved. If he encountered Xuefeng now, Lu Ming was confident that he could kill him even without using the 9 seals of the divine gate. Lu Ming stood up and stepped out, appearing outside the mountain river diagram. Now I can fight for the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming revealed a confident expression. If it was before he broke through to the second level of the spirit god realm, even if Lu Ming went, he might not be able to obtain any benefits. Many of the previous generation's geniuses had entered the mountain river diagram. Every overlord force probably had an expert like Xuefeng, and there might even be someone stronger. Moreover, these forces had many people. If Lu Ming was at the first level of the spirit god realm, even if he went, he might not be their opponent. Moreover, there was also Yang Patian. The battle strength of the 5 young tycoons was absolutely shocking and couldn't be underestimated. But now, Lu Ming was confident that even if he couldn't suppress all of them, it wouldn't be a problem for him to get a share of the loot. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, Lu Ming turned into a streak of light and flew away. Soon, Lu Ming had flown a few 100,000 miles. So far, where is the Saint Mansion? Lu Ming was speechless. After flying a few 100,000 miles, he felt that the Saint Mansion wasn't close at all. It was still so far away that he couldn't see it. Lu Ming continued to fly, flying a few 100,000 miles. Unfortunately, it was still the same. He didn't feel that he was close to the Saint Mansion. The Saint Mansion was floating in the air like an immortal palace. Boom! Suddenly, there was an uproar in front of him. There were experts fighting fiercely. In the distance, the sky was shrouded in endless light. Various colored lights flickered as terrifying attacks collided continuously. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. He restrained his aura and flew over. Fairy Brother Kong. Below, there were some figures looking up. Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xian were among them. Lu Ming flew over to greet them. Brother Lu. Seeing Lu Ming, both of them smiled. What's going on? Lu Ming asked. They're fighting for the Saint Mansion's token. Fairy Sandalwood said. What? The Saint Mansion's token has appeared? Lu Ming was shocked. He didn't expect that the battle in the sky was because of the Saint Mansion's token. High up in the sky, dazzling lights flashed. It was impossible to see the faces of the people inside. Only 7 or 8 figures could be seen crisscrossing and fighting fiercely. They were all powerful and terrifying existences. Even Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xian could only watch from below, unable to interfere. There were many people watching below. Lu Ming saw Yin Bupo from the Sky Eagle Fort, and some other experts from the Sky Eagle Fort. In addition, the Ji family from the Demon Mountain was also there. Everyone stared at the sky, watching the progress of the battle. Bang! Suddenly, a huge figure was shot down and fell heavily on the ground. It was a lightning eagle. Its body was covered in lightning, but there was no aura. It was dead. Senior brother. Yin Bupo and the others shouted in anger. Obviously, this lightning eagle was an expert from the previous generation of the Sky Eagle Fort. Swoosh! At this moment, another figure rushed down. Chapter 1081. Senior Brother Luo. Kong Xian's expression changed as he stepped forward. Obviously, this person was an expert from the World Academy. Sigh, I'm no match for them. I don't need the Sacred Mansion token. Senior Brother Luo sighed. Kong Xian and Sandalwood Fairy were shocked. They knew that Senior Brother Luo was the #1 prodigy of the World Academy. He had awakened a 7th level divine bloodline and reached the 4th level of the spirit god realm. He shouldn't be weaker than Xuefeng, but he still couldn't defeat them. The number of people decreased, but the battle became more intense. Terrifying vibrations spread out for thousands of miles. The void was as fragile as a piece of paper. Bang! Bang! Following that, more and more people were sent flying out of the battlefield. For people were sent out of the battlefield in succession. They were severely injured and stood in the void, looking at the battlefield unwillingly with fear in their eyes. Lu Ming could see that there were only 2 figures left in the sky, fighting fiercely. Clang! Clang! The sounds of collisions were constantly heard, as if 2 gods were fighting. Sizzle. The space cracked and the light faded. Two figures appeared in front of everyone. Both of them were tall and burly with wild auras. One of them held a halberd in his hand. His black hair hung loosely behind his back, and his aura was shocking to the extreme. Just by standing there, the space around him was like water, constantly twisting and distorting, forming circular ripples. Yongpatian. This person was actually one of the top 5 youths Yongpatian. The other person stood in front of Yongpatian. His body was even more burly than Yongpotian's, revealing 2 muscular arms. He was holding a huge spiked club. This person looked very young, definitely not more than 30 years old. He was in the same generation as Lu Ming, a prodigy of the younger generation, was actually able to fight with Yongpatian. Who is this person? This person is from the Northern Plains, and is known as the #1 prodigy of the Northern Plains. I heard that he fought with Yongpatian outside before. Kong Xian explained in a low voice. Lu Ming suddenly understood. So it was a prodigy of the Northern Plains. He had also heard that a prodigy from the Northern Plains fought with Yongpatian to a draw. Between the two of them, there was a purple gold token floating in the air, emitting a hazy glow. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This should be the Holy Mansion's token. Tuobashir, let's settle this today. Yongpatian held the halberd in his hand. With a slight movement, he cut open a crack in space. His aura was wild. His hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were like lightning. That's exactly what I wanted. Tuobashir grinned and waved his mace, creating a loud rumbling sound. Waves of energy surged, and the token of the Saint Mansion was blasted high up into the sky. Shwa shwa. At the same time, the two of them moved, rushing towards each other, starting a great battle. Yongpatian had also comprehended the will of space, and his usage of it was even more terrifying than Di Shun's. At the same time, he also had the support of other wills. When he struck out with his halberd, it was as if he could sever the void. Tuobashir's muscles bulged like an invincible warrior. His mace danced in the air, crushing everything in its path. When it collided with the ancient halberd, a terrifying rumble could be heard. The two of them clashed fiercely, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. The others gathered around to watch, their eyes filled with amazement. Is this the strength of the 5 giants? They're indeed powerful. Lu Ming exclaimed. At the same time, a strong fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. Sigh, they're too powerful. They haven't even used the bloodline fusion, but they're already so powerful. I'm too far behind them. Kong Xian sighed. Have their bloodlines surpassed level 8 of the divine level? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The bloodlines of the 5 giants of the central continent are all at level 9 of the divine level. Sandalwood Fairy said. They're actually at level 9 of the divine level. Lu Ming was also a little surprised. Level 9 of the divine level was the highest level of bloodline. Each of them was extremely terrifying. The higher one's bloodline was, the greater the difference in the talent or bloodline bonus brought by each level. Level 7 of the divine level was much stronger than level 6 of the divine level. However, level 8 of the divine level was much stronger than level 7 of the divine level, whether it was talent or bloodline bonus. As for level 9 of the divine level, it was even more terrifying. This was because level 9 of the divine level represented the peak in perfection. It was not something a level 8 of the divine level could compare to. If level 8 of the divine level meant that one had the potential to become an emperor, then level 9 of the divine level meant that one would definitely become an emperor as long as they didn't die. In the history of the divine wilderness continent, anyone who awakened level 9 of the divine level bloodline would become an emperor as long as they didn't die. The 5 giants of the central continent were equivalent to becoming an emperor in the future. It was no wonder that Yongpatian was so arrogant. He always acted as if he was above everyone else. He was destined to become an emperor. Apart from people who were at the same level as him, everyone else was just an ant in his eyes. Perhaps in the depths of his heart, he didn't even care about supremes. Clang, clang. The battle continued, and became more and more intense. Both of them were really angry for the Sacred Mansion token. Both of them were determined to get the Sacred Mansion token. In the blink of an eye, The two of them had exchanged more than 100 moves. The purple gold sacred mansion token rolled around in their energy. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp sound came from the Saint Mansion's token. Then, under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, the token crumbled into pieces. The sacred mansion token shattered. Everyone was stunned. Even Yang Patian and Tuobashir were stunned. They stopped fighting and looked at each other. No one had expected the sacred mansion token to shatter. Wasn't that the token to enter the sacred mansion? The owner of the sacred mansion was an existence that surpassed the emperor. How could his token shatter so easily? Impossible. The sacred mansion token is indestructible. It can't be broken. This is fake. This is a fake token. Kong Xian shouted. A fake token? Everyone looked at each other. I know. Someone threw out a fake token. They want to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, then reap the benefits. Someone guessed. Everyone's eyes flashed. They felt that it was very likely that someone wanted to take advantage of the situation. Fairy Brother Kong, how did the token appear? Lu Ming asked. I heard that before this, someone shouted that he found the token. Many people fought over it. Later, more and more people joined in. In the end, even Yang Patian and Tuobashir were attracted. Kong Xian explained. So you're saying that no one saw where the token came from? Lu Ming asked. Both Fairy Sandalwood and Kong Xian shook their heads. Previously, when everyone saw the sacred mansion token, they fought over it like crazy. Who would have thought that the token was fake? Lu Ming nodded. It seemed that someone was really trying to take advantage of the situation. Damn it. Which bastard did this? If I find out, I'll make him suffer. Im Bupo from the Heavenly Eagle Castle roared. The Heavenly Eagle Castle lost a peerless expert because of this. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.